Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be my updated current favorite makeup brushes. I tried to film this a couple times, like I tried to use each brush, but since I have always a couple of picks in every category, having to put foundation on, take it off, put it on, take it off, so it wouldn't have really been practical. After I got through like 2 or 3 different steps, I was like, okay, this is not gonna work. All these brushes you've seen me use in tutorials at different points, so if you have any questions about any particular one, I would check out any of my demos. My spray tan is gone now, so I'm back to my normal skin color. And I also, before anybody says, typically I line the inside of my lip because my lips are naturally large anyway, for anybody that always tells me that my lips look too full. I was born with them, so don't body shame me. But I actually just outlined on the actual line of the lip, like right on the border there. And so, and I have a gloss on, so they look a little larger than usual, in case anybody asks. As always, guys, there will be timestamps below if you care to skip ahead to any certain area. I'm gonna have each category with a timestamp in case you're just in the market for a certain kind of brush. I have several picks in each category. They're all good and all for different reasons. The biggest thing that you need to figure out with any makeup brush or any tool is how you like to apply your brushes. All the brushes I will show you here are very well made and they are great brushes. Whether you like to use them or not is going to be a personal preference thing. Some people need to be really close to a mirror to do their makeup. Maybe their eyesight isn't that great and longer handles will bother them. Maybe you have some kind of chronic pain and you like really light handled brushes. Maybe you like one to be like really nicely balanced in your hand. Maybe you want all synthetic, maybe you want natural hair. There are a million different brushes out there, shapes and sizes and all of those things. So I think the best thing to do for anybody is, for the makeup brushes that are your favorite to use, figure out why are they your favorite. Is it because of the handle? Is it because of the size of the brush? All of those things will help you curate your favorite makeup brushes. I do have some affordable picks. I heard you guys on my Instagram asking me for some of those. I do really quickly want to go over some brands that I do like that have affordable brushes. I can't talk about every single brush everywhere because it'd be crazy. But if I had to pick like the bulk, if I had a budget for brushes, the bulk of my expense would go into eye brushes. The only other brushes that I feel are important really for the face that I'm a little more picky about is contour and highlight. Otherwise, I feel like any kind of run-of-the-mill brush can put on your foundation, can put on your blush, can put on powder, foundation, all of those things. I feel like eye brushes are going to make the biggest difference on how your makeup looks because your eyes are what typically is a little more complex. And we'll get into that in a little bit. Another important note is I did not buy all of these brushes at once. I have bought 99.9% of my brushes. A couple brushes have been gifted to me, but in general, I love brushes. I love brushes like I love skincare. I never was really big into them until I started noticing the difference it made in my makeup application, and then I just started collecting. Besides all the brushes you still see behind me in my cups, I have bags and bags and all of these ones in front of me too. It was all just trial and error for me to figure out what I liked about the brush, what I didn't like about the brush, what I felt like it was missing, just like I discussed. So first, let's talk about, in general, more affordable brush companies that aren't gonna make brushes that feel like they're made with alpaca butthole hair. Because just because a brush is cheap doesn't mean it's good, and just because a brush is expensive doesn't mean it's good. So you can find synthetic brushes in general, if you're on a budget, should be soft across the board. I mean, because they're synthetic. So at an affordable price point all the way up to an expensive price point, they should all be soft and not scratchy. At that point, what you're wanting to make sure is that the ferrule is put together well and that the synthetic hair isn't falling out, or the ferrule is not coming off, the handle is not breaking off, or anything like that at a lower price point. or even a more expensive price point. My favorite drugstore brushes are the Real Techniques brushes. I do have some in my cups here because I was dividing them up by category, but I think that these brushes are super well made. I've never had one fall apart. I just think they're great brushes. The only thing I wish, and I have noticed that they've expanded more, is I wish that they'd get into better eye brushes. I'm lacking what I need or what I care for in eye brushes in that line, and things like this is their blush brush. I don't really care for a domed blush brush. I prefer more of a paddle. Again, that's just going to be personal preference. But in general, they make amazing brushes. You can go right into your store to pick them up. Sometimes like CVS or Walgreens or even Ulta has sales where you guys can like buy one, get one half off, or whatever sales they have. Excellent brushes, very well made, very affordable. Next, I love some of these e.l.f. brushes. This is a blush brush, but I was using it to set my under eyes when I was setting my under eyes. These are very affordable brushes, these black ones anyway. I think they have some other ones. And Wet n Wild has some amazing brushes too, not their white ones. I had a couple white ones. I think it's the white ones, right? The white one like kind of fell apart. But Wet n Wild, e.l.f., very affordable brushes. Again, you can find these at Target or at some drugstores. They make great brushes. Just again, I never recommend buying in sets because very rarely are you going to use every single brush in a set. It's better, unless it's like a real huge discounted price to get them and you're getting like tons of brushes for free. I think it's better to piecemeal in the brushes that you want so that way you're sure you're getting exactly what you want. Next is Royal Nickel makes this Moda, the Moda Pros. I love the Moda sets. These are brand new, but I have several open. These brushes are really well made. They're not gonna shed, they're not gonna fall apart on you. I like all of their synthetic brushes. Their normal Royal Nickel collection is more pricey, but that Moda one is much more affordable, and I think it's a great deal. Next for affordable are going to be the Crown Pro Series brushes. So I've been testing this entire Pro Series line. Now it has to say Crown Pro Series because they have a couple different ones. They have recently lowered their shipping, so it's not crazy astronomical. These brushes will not fall apart. I've tested them all. I've washed them all. Some of their goat ones, like these white ones, this is still soft, but it can feel a bit scratchy if you're not washing them well. But in general, I mean, for the price point, you can't kind of argue with that. You can get some great big powder brushes. Again, it's gonna come down to the shape and how you like to apply your makeup. Some of these eye ones are very nice and dupes for more expensive ones. Now, here are some other Crown brushes I had from over the years. I do not care for these lines. They had like the gunmetal ones. There were some other ones that they had, so not all brushes are created equal on any site. Crown also has, which these are great brushes and they're really pretty. It's like this copper line, but none of the brush names are on the handles. The handles are kind of hollow and light. Sometimes people like that. I like a little more substantial of a handle, and the print rubs off. So I would take a skip on these. And in general, I would just stick to the Crown Pro Series in their line if you really need anything, and you can pick up pretty much every brush shape that you can imagine directly from their site, and that way you don't have to kind of like piecemeal it in. No, I am not affiliated with them at all, and I do not earn anything if you buy brushes from them. Next up for affordable brushes are the Zoeva brushes. So I have them in several different finishes. All of them are nice. I like the rose gold. The rose gold can get kind of dingy. You have to make sure that you wipe this off. This was the Opulence collection. A lot of the times they make the same exact brush just with a different finish. None of my brushes have ever fallen apart. Really well made brushes. They do ship from Germany, from my understanding, to the US anyway. There's no US distributor. There used to be, but there no longer is. International, there are several places that you can buy them from. Cult Beauty, I think, or Beauty Bay, or some of those, I believe. Again, I'm not very well versed in those because I don't get those options necessarily when I'm shopping online. And then my last, but certainly not least, because I have tons of these brushes in, are the Delian tools. So I like the yellow handle series. This is, I believe, their Pro series, but I love these golden triangles. golden triangle. They are so nice, like really ergodynamic in your hand because of the triangle there. So it sits right here and it's just really easy to put your makeup on. Now these do have long handles. All of the brushes I have picked from them are synthetic. So let's just get into all the brushes I like now. The way I think now when I buy brushes is I would rather wait and spend the cost of 2 less expensive brushes on one brush that I know is gonna last me and that I'm really gonna like, opposed to it being scratchy, me not enjoying using it, it falling apart, losing its shape, all of those things. In the side of the screen here, guys, I'm going to show you what the brush is made of, where it's made, if I can find that, because not all of them can I, how much it is, and if I have anything that's comparable that is a little more affordable. Affordable is a very relative term. So first, let's get into foundation. I'm gonna try to go about this in order that I put them on. Now, some people like a really liquidy foundation, some people like a thicker cream foundation, some people like creams in pans, some people like BB creams, some people like cushion foundations. So I'm gonna cover what my favorite brush is for what. First up is this Kehoe. This is the foundation brush. Several companies make brushes like this, like La Mer. At first, I mentioned this in my buying guide that I was thinking like this is way too big, but I love this for more liquidy foundations like the Kehoe Ethereal Foundation, like the La Mer Soft Fluid Foundation. They're a little more runny instead of almost having like that gel consistency to them. I love to pick it up, brush it on. This is a very nice brush. It is expensive, especially for a synthetic brush, but I really like this. The handle is nice and weighted. It's a beautiful brush. Next up is one of my favorite brushes. This is the Isom T45. Now, if you guys didn't watch the video I did with Alphonse is one of the owners of Muse Beauty Pro, and he actually develops all these brushes with a family in China that hand makes all the brushes. He's been working with them for a really long time, so it's not like a mass-produced thing. I have a video with him where he explains where all the sourcing for the materials and all of that comes from, so I will link that down below, and I really urge you to check that out if you're interested in learning any more, and from you know, a pro that used to shadow Kehoe and all of these very famous makeup artists, and he's a very famous makeup artist in his own right, to hear why he makes the shapes and sizes and all of that he does. I love this foundation brush. This one is one of those ones I was telling you that really like hugs to the contours of your face. This is amazing with cream products. You just kind of like pat it in the thick cream pots, like the Cosmedix Fix Cream, and it like melts into your skin. I love this brush. I also love it for liquidy foundations or even gel foundations. I'll pick it up, paint it on, then I go through with a beauty blender and stamp it out. That's my favorite way to apply very luminous foundations, because if I go on and I just swirl it, I notice it can be streaky, and sometimes if I just like buff it in, I notice it can be too oily looking for me. So I always prefer to paint my foundation on and then blend it in with a beauty blender. This is made of Taklon. That's all the T's on their brushes are for their synthetic line. And then another brush that you can pick up at Sephora is the Makeup Forever, the 108 large foundation brush. I also had this in my buying guide. Again, I'm all about the paddle width. I don't like it when they're too thin and they kind of flick. It's all about that like bend and snap. I used this today to put on my foundation, and then I used a beauty blender to blend it out. Love this brush as well. All their brushes are synthetic as well. This is the Zoeva 104. This is an extremely soft brush. It's really nice to buff in like BB creams. I love this for my cushion foundations. I know I'm supposed to use the puff in there. I know some people get so mad at me that I don't like to use it, but I just don't like to use it. I feel like I don't like it to look dirty. I like it to look clean in the compact. I know that is probably weird for some people, but I just prefer to stipple it on with a brush, and I also like it that this is extremely soft. So they make this in a bunch of different finishes. This one is from the Opulence collection, and this is 104. Now these two brushes are similar. This is the Isom T47 brush. Now this brush is not as long, and it's a lot thicker than their T47. If you can look at that, this one is much shorter. I like this for like heavier foundations, ones that aren't as liquidy, because I can get in there and really work it into the contours and little nooks and crannies of my face. This is also excellent for cream blush and things. I like this one. Now, if you wanted a brush that you could go into Sephora and get, this one would be similar. This is the Sephora Pro 56 brush. Sephora Pro brushes are very well made brushes. I do like them. The only thing is I can't seem to find where they're made, because it'll just have a little cover on there and I don't see it anywhere. I'm 99% sure these are machined brushes. They're not handmade, where something like the Isom brushes are handmade. So that does take a lot more care and work to make them. I like this brush for the same thing. Now you can notice though, compared to the ferrule, see how much longer this brush handle is, which is good for me. I like to store my brushes in vases that I got from IKEA. I put some split peas in there. Sometimes people tease. I really wanted those little glass beads that they have at Sephora, but I located them after like searching high and low, and they were like $20 to $50 per pound. And for glass, it's pretty heavy, so I'm like, oh my God, some of those I would need 2 pounds per. I was like, no. Split peas it is, and then if they start to get discolored from the sun coming in and kind of bleached, I can dump them down in the trash disposal and the whole bag was 99 cents, so I stick with that. And it doesn't leave, like I tried rice before and the rice would leave like powder all over them. I digress. These two are really nice brushes. Now, this is a brush that I actually love for really quick like tinted moisturizers or BB creams. This is the Natasha Genoa number 21 brush. I like it because it's really big, and typically when I'm wearing those kinds of things, I like to just really go fast, and this covers a good amount of space. If you can see how big it is, let me compare it to like a Real Techniques brush. And you see this is like double the size of that. Good brush. Now for two more affordable options, these are the Real Techniques ones. So this is the buffing brush, and then this is the Expert Face brush. Now I used to love this brush for putting foundation on. These are both very good. This one is a little better if you like mineral foundations or you have more of a liquidy foundation. This is better for thicker foundations because the bristles don't have as much give to them. Both excellent brushes as well. Now let's talk about concealer brushes. So I'm really picky about concealer brushes. I don't ever highlight anymore in that like triangle. I basically just put concealer on under my eyes to color correct or like brighten that area up a little bit, but it's typically now the color of my foundation. I was noticing, since I am on the light side, when I was adding like an even lighter concealer to my face, I was looking very ghostly. It was really washing me out, and it just didn't look complimentary to my features, so I stopped doing that. So here is the Isom T41. What I like this for is if I have had like not a whole lot of sleep, I will go in with a color corrector and just place that right where I need it, because the more layers you put on of makeup, the more obvious it is to the naked eye, you know, or in everyday light when we're not sitting under bright lights and things. So I like this one for more like pinpoint concealing. And then this is like the big brother. This is the T43. If you can see the difference in size. I love this for just going in with the concealer that I want, like the fix creams, because this is better for more cream-based products, I find anyway. Now, if I want to use a liquid or like one in a tube, I typically will use these two. This is the Isom T38 and this one is the T37. So the T37, you can see, just like those other brushes, is a lot smaller than this one. So this one will really allow me to get up in like the corner of my eye if I need anything, or even clean up the side of like a wing. But if I had to pick one of them, I would go with the bigger one, which is the T38, because I can cover a lot more ground. And I typically with these stamp, I don't drag. Now a bigger version of even that is the Sephora 75 brush. When I was doing the big triangle technique, this one covers a lot more ground and it was easier to kind of like stamp that in. Because when you put so if you put foundation down first and then you're highlighting in these giant triangles, which there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you like, if you're taking a brush and then like rubbing it, it's almost like the foundation underneath and then has something that's like it on top, and you're rubbing it together, and sometimes it can almost like rub a patch in it. So I find it's better to pat And I've had this brush for a really long time and I love it for that. And believe it or not, this is the brush that I reach for almost every day since I've been doing my concealer for the past several months. This is the Crown C517 brush. This is part of their Crown Pro series. I like this brush because it's fluffy enough that I can stamp the concealer in and then just kind of like buff whatever's left over down, and it picks up the rest of it without leaving me with too much product. And I love this brush, and it's really affordable. And then the two other ones I'm going to talk about, this is the Delian Tools, the 938 Blending Concealer. I primarily use this for color correction. So if my eyes are really dark that day, I'll take like a peach color corrector and I'll just get it up where I need it. Or I can do like color correction if I have blemishes or anything. That's what I use this for, like a green around areas of my face. And then this is a really nice brush from Sephora. This is their 57 brush. This is great too for, again, I pat in the concealer first and then I buff out the line so I'm not pulling on my eye and I'm not like really disturbing the product that I put down. Okay, now let's talk about contour. So I typically prefer to liquid or cream contour and then set it with a powder or kind of like a cream stick. I have been using this brush forever. This is the Inglot T20 brush. I like this for when I'm liquid contouring. So I will pick up, because it's such a thin little blade, I pick it up and then I can just draw the line on and I can use this to flick it up. I love that. And then typically though, what I've been doing is I draw it on with this and then I go in with this. This is the Delian Tools, the 966 brush, and I really buff this up in. This is a dual fiber brush. I have come to absolutely love this brush. Like I cannot do my makeup without it. And what I'll also do is like the Fenty Beauty, the matte matchsticks, what I'll do is I'll rub this brush on top of there and then I'll stamp it along and then flick it up. Love this brush. Delian Tools makes some really nice brushes. And if I'm using, if I want like a wider contour or like something thicker, because this 20T brush can be hard to find, I really like this Isom T59 brush. So this is a small little square brush, and what I'll do too is just pick up the contour and I draw it on like this. This is actually, I believe, meant for like an eye shading brush, but I use it for contour work on my face. Teflon as well, really nice brush. If you are new to cream contouring, this Kat Von D number 5 brush is pretty goof proof. You can pick it up in the middle if you want and just kind of like hug the contour of your face and brush it up. All of her brushes are synthetic and vegan. Nice brush. Now this has been like what I'm using to set my contour with almost every single day with the powder. This is the Isom T59 brush. I did not think I would like this brush as much as I do, but I love it. It's so soft. It makes it so I don't get a really harsh line of contour, and I love this one. And now this brush is the Sonia G, the Sculpt 3 brush. Now this is gonna give me more of a harsh contour. So what I do is I pick up the powder and suck in, and I can really get that line where I want my cheeks, and then it's important that I go through with another brush to kind of blend it out, or I can have that harsh line. I believe this, I mean, it's called face sculpting. I think some of these were meant for highlighting, but I prefer this actually for contour. And then this is her Face 2 brush, the Sonia G one. These brushes are excellent, very well made. I don't have them all, but they are really nice brushes. Then I can go through and blend the contour with this. So soft, never scratchy. I never want something that feels like it's like pricking my face. I don't like that at all. If you're someone that kind of likes a pointed contour brush, this Delian, this is the 944 brush. This, you can pick up the product right here, and then the bristles around it are going to help blend, and you won't get a harsh contour line with that. For a more affordable one, I would get the Real Techniques, the actual contour brush. It's a little wider than I prefer. I don't really care for big circles like that for contouring to actually lay the product down, but I used it for a long time and I really like it. The other one that I love for contour is the Wayne Goss Airbrush. This was the limited edition one. It's currently all black. But again, this will give you a nice light contour. It's not gonna be like super harsh lines, which I don't think most people want. You can also use this to set underneath your eyes. I don't like this for highlight because I like my highlight a little more intense, but this brush is extremely soft. Very nice brush. Now let's get into bronzer brushes. So again, this is gonna come down to how you like to apply your bronzer. If you're someone that wants to put bronzer all over your face, which I very rarely spray tan, but when I do, I find that I kind of need the bronzer all over my face. And if I'm using something like my Chanel, the one that's like the cream bronzer, I find it easier to stamp the brush in and kind of stamp this along my face opposed to dragging. This is the Marc Jacobs bronzing brush. This is an expensive brush, but it has lasted me. I've had this, I don't know, going on 4 years. Never had a problem with it. It's a nice substantial handle. I really like it. It is going to be harder if you have a small face and you're trying to get like very precise bronzer work. Then if you're very fair, I actually wouldn't recommend that one for you. Bronzing brush I love is the Goss 00 brush. This is a tapered head, which what I like about it is it makes it way easier for me to get the bronzer where I want. So that way I'm not muddying the bronzer with my contour. I'm not getting it down here, up here, all over. I can just really control where it goes. This is available in white and black. The black hair is dyed and the white is not. I prefer the white. I find it picks up the product a lot better than with the hair follicle not being colored. So I like that. The next one I really like for bronzer is the Sonia G. This is the Sculpt 1 brush. I like this because I can pick this up. Now this is more firm. I mean, they're still soft, but it's not gonna have as much give as something like this, where you can see you have all of the space up top. So what I like to do to this is if I want a lot more bronzer or I'm trying to like really blend it in, I think that this is a great brush. What I've been using more and more to bronze as well is the Isom G53 brush. That's what I use today. This can be used for blush or anything like that. I'm a little picky about blush brushes, which I'll talk about in a minute, but I love this for bronzer. It's very nice. This is the Delian Tools, the Tapered 974. It says it's tapered powder. I don't always wear a ton of powder. There are certain ones that I use and certain techniques I like to put them on with, but I find this is great for bronzer just to get up on the tops of my cheeks where I want it. Very well made brush, and again, I like this handle. And then this is the IT Cosmedix Ball Wand brush. I know they're still making this. This is a tapered, again, I find I like tapered ones to put on bronzer. It's really soft. IT Cosmedix made some of the best synthetic brushes. I don't really know where they all went, but they've kind of disappeared off of the Ulta site. So for blush, for years and years, the MAC 129 short handle brush was my all-time favorite. They have discontinued their natural hair brushes now, and I can't find anything comparable to that. So I had switched actually years ago now to the Goss 14. This used to be in a brown, it was a tea-dyed brush. I did not care for that for putting on blush because it wasn't as structured. This brush has way more snap back up to it when you are using this. At first I was worried because I didn't want my white brush hairs to look dirty, and I didn't wash all of these purposely to show you guys what they look like, but I don't care what they look like. They're sitting in my vanity, and the white brush hair is way more of a workhorse for me. They're way more structured. I have way more ease to move my makeup around opposed to something that's extremely soft. I mean, there's a time and a place for a really soft brush and ones that have a bit more bounce back to them. I use this every single day for my blush, and it's actually made it so I don't look like Crayola. I shouldn't say that word. Threw up all over my face. That's what I'll say. And if you want an affordable option, the Real Techniques, this is their multitasker brush. I don't care for their blush brush for blush, so I would like this one instead. Now for powder. So one of my favorite powders is the Ket Set, the pressed one. And this is not a brush, this is a jumbo powder puff from Isom, which is so soft, and I love this. I like it because the powder is pressed and it doesn't look cakey when I put it on, and I can just get it where I want it. And when I airbrush my makeup, I actually use this to roll on like this, so it kind of like presses into my skin and it doesn't kind of like disappear throughout the day. I love these, and they come in a pack, I think, of 3. I'll have it linked below. This is the Hourglass. This is their Veil Powder Brush. Extremely soft, dual-sided. If you like setting underneath your eyes, this is perfect, or even in like more hard-to-reach areas. And then this one is bigger on top. Very nice brush. If you like powdered foundations, I like the Cosmedix Celebration Illumination Foundation, sometimes for my nose, and this is their dual-sided brush. I don't know the name of it because there is none on here. I've had it for a very long time, but even for spot concealing with this, I love this brush. The thing I don't like about dual-sided brushes is I can't store them in my brush cup, so they're kind of an eyesore. This is the Isom T49 brush. I like this because this is synthetic as well. I can pick up setting powder, and the Ket set is my favorite if I just want a set on there. I don't want like a blurring filter or anything else on there, and I can just stamp this on. It doesn't disturb my makeup. It's a big head, so it gets the job done quickly, easy to wash. Really like this brush. Now next, if you wanted something kind of similar, it's not quite the same, but you could pick it up from Sephora. This is the Sephora 55 brush. You can see the size difference, and this one has a little bit different give on the bristles. Sorry, my cat and dog are wrestling, trying to eat my brushes. Hey, don't eat mommy's brushes. That's not nice. So the 55 is similar to this one. If you like mineral powders to really buff on, or even for like bronzers, you can use this. This is the Isom X57 brush. What I actually use this for is like a finishing powder if I'm buffing it in before I put highlighter or anything on, because that will kind of disturb that. It's a nice short handle. I like this too. I'm sorry, I probably said that like 50 times. This is by far my favorite under eye setting brush. This is the Goss #2 brush. I've never had a brush that's this soft, that fits perfectly underneath my eye, that doesn't go too far, up and down, even in between my eyebrows, wherever you want to go. I've seen them talk about like swirling. I don't do anything like that besides setting the under eye. Super soft brush, love it. Here's actually the Goss Airbrush, the regular one, not the limited edition one. This one is great as well for under eye. If you like to bake and you like to like flick that away. I can't bake because I look like the damn mummy when I do that. I'm about to be 37 years old and I have no business packing that much powder on my face and expecting to not look like a mummy. Yeah, I look drying. It's not cute. So I love this for like a light dusting of powder if you like those meteorites or anything like that. So you can multitask and use that brush. Just make sure you're cleaning it off in between uses. Then we have the Isom X51 brush. This is excellent for finishing powders. When you want like a nice light dusting, or if you even want to just blend in all of your makeup to make sure you don't have any harsh lines. It's a very soft brush. It feels great. Now here's the piece de resistance. This is my Shiki Hodo. This is my Z1 powder brush. I almost choked at the cost of this. I think it was, where is this? This was $178, which is a lot of money for a brush. So Shiki Hodo makes some of my favorite luxury brushes, as well as like Hodo, Goss obviously. Rumor is that Hodo makes Goss's brushes. I really like the Sonia G brushes, the Isom brushes. I really like, I just love brushes, but this brush is so soft. And it's like this little wand up top here, and what this is great for is powdering my face, and I don't swirl it, I kind of pat it like this. And I really do like this. I was afraid to use it at first because a brush with the hair this soft too, you don't want to be cleaning it harshly. I will link a video down below. There's a timestamp where you can skip ahead to see how I wash my luxury brushes, how I reshape them and reform them, because I'm not going to cover that in this. But caring for your brushes is very important. And a side note, if you're using something like the Cinema Secrets, something that feels like it's a few steps off from like turpentine, it's meant to spot clean for professional makeup artists when they're on set and they don't have time to wash and dry their brush before the next client. Now, if you put something like that on a Taklon fiber, it's going to start to melt the plastic. Basically, that's what it is, or the fibers in there. So you don't want to use something like that. You want to make sure that you're being mindful of taking proper care of them. For nice brushes like this, what I basically do is take a microfiber washcloth that I keep for cleaning my brushes. I wipe the excess off and then I put this away. Then I will clean them, but very rarely, because something like this I'm not using for liquids anyway. It's just for powders, but I love this brush. If you want to really treat yourself, I bought that on Beautylish in like their 3 payments because I was like, oh, do I want to pay for it all at once? But it made me feel less guilty about it. Now let's talk about highlight brushes. So this was my all-time favorite highlight brush. I have 3 of these. This is the Goss #15. I loved the give on this. I had never loved a highlighting brush as much as I love this one. And then Wayne came out and he re-released his collection with all white haired brushes. Now this was tea dyed and these are not. I can tell it feels like a different part of the animal as well. But if I even look at it, the density is a little different. I don't like this one as much. I mean, it's still a good brush, but it doesn't feel the same. Like if you look at this, let's see if you can tell. Do you see how the give is different? This is more stiff than this brush. So if he ever brings this brush back, I'll buy 8,000 of them because I love them. I mean, maybe not 8,000, but I'll buy a lot. Just for backups. I don't really care for this one as much, so I did want to touch on that because everyone used to hear me talk about that. Now, I like all of his white-haired brushes besides that one because I think he really needed some more structured brushes in his collection. Now, this one is the new number 10, and this is amazing for jelly highlights. Now, let me see. Do I really have anything? Let me grab a jelly highlighter that I have and show you. So anybody that's used jelly highlighters can tell you sometimes it can be really difficult to pick up. The pan can kind of almost pick up like a hard pan. Now this white-haired brush will pick up a good amount. Like, can you see that applied on? This is the Laura Geller Peach Glow Baked Illuminator. I love this brush for the jelly highlighters. I wouldn't use this with like my really powdery ones, but jelly ones, if you like those kind of highlighters, you need this brush in your life. My other two favorites, this is the Sephora 98. I love this brush like I loved this one. I almost wish Sephora would make a fan brush like this because the bristles are the same soft give. You guys have seen me use this a million times. It's a great brush. And then another one that I love for highlighting, which I did not think I would, is the Delian. This is the 991.5 highlighting brush. This is huge, and I was thinking, oh my God, it's way too big. But what you can do is just dip the tip of this fan brush in the highlighter, and it really like blends it out, so you're not gonna get like a stripe of highlighter on your face, and you can use this to even blend out what you put on. At first I was trying to use this as bronzer, but it actually is the best highlighter brush. It's really, really nice. So what I would say to do too is, I know I'm giving you guys so many options, is that if you know you want to buy from like a certain place and you really like some of the brushes, like try to get all the brushes you can from one place, so that way you don't have to pay like shipping and all of that good stuff, blah, blah, blah. I had some other brushes that I couldn't show here today because they're discontinued, like a couple Wayne Goss brushes and some of the cosmetic brushes. I just can't find them online anymore. They're not on their site and they're not on any retailer site, so I'm assuming those are gone. So now what I'm going to get into are eye brushes and eyebrows. I'm going to go in the way that I apply them. So first let's talk about transition brushes. So this is one of the ones that I love. This was the Cosmedix one that I had been using for so long on camera, but this has been discontinued, so pointless to talk about that. This brush is amazing though. This is the 785 Tapered Blending. This is what I use today. It's extremely soft. It does not leave any harsh lines. It's really comfortable to hold in your hand. Love this brush. And now if you want a slightly bigger brush, and say you're used to using like a super pigmented shadow and you like to like pack it on and then go out and blend it, this is the Isom W35. The way you want to use these brushes is you want this tip to go into the crease, and then the short bristles right up here come up, and then you blend it over like that, which I really like this brush too, but I prefer to always go on with a fluffier brush, and then I typically will take this to really like blend it out from doing like smoky eyes or something. Now let's talk about crease work. So I have small eyes, smaller eyes. I mean, some people have giant real estate. I prefer smaller detailed brushes. The way I like to do my eyeshadows, again, if you've been watching, is I like to place the eyeshadow down and then go back through and blend it out with a fluffier brush. It gives me more control over where my shadows are going. This has been one of my favorite brushes. This is the Isom W36. This is that same one, but smaller. It's what I use today to get this darker line right up here. So I dip the tip of this brush in there, and then I just follow that ocular ridge, and I think that's the ocular ridge. of my eye, and I go through, and you can really blend that out, and then I'll go through with another brush if I really need to. Now this is the Sonia G. This is the Worker 2 brush. Now this is a brush that I will use if I am not being as precise and I want to really blend this more up into the line. You can lay it on its side like this and get right into the crease, or you can fan it out like this and really make some sweeping movements with this. This brush is really soft. I've been using this to blend all the colors together you've seen in my videos. This is the Worker 2. But this is a brush that I use if I want to do a cut crease. This is a Shiki Hodo T7. Now what I do with this is, you guys have seen me demo this before, is I pick up the eyeshadow on one side of the brush like this. Then whatever side I picked it up on, I flip it so that side is facing up, and then I follow that crease of my eye, and it will put all the shadow up above there, and it makes doing a cut crease really, really easy. And this isn't a super expensive brush given Shiki Hodo's typical prices. Love that brush too. And now these are my favorite Wayne Goss brushes. Now you can buy these in a set if you want. Some of these, so the 4 was from their anniversary collection. I like to go in and do more blending. This one is a bigger brush. So like what you see I have on today, I went through and just blended that out a little more. This brush I can't live without. This is the 20. This is the one that I do like more detailed crease work with if I want to put a darker color out on the outside V of my eye. And then these are basically just get progressively larger. It's the same brush, just small, medium, and large. And if you want one that is very similar, this is the Hodo, where is the number on this? This is the J146. If you watch my Wayne Goss video, I compare some of the brushes in there. Again, I'll link that down below so I'm not repeating myself 9,000 times. If you're used to kind of like a MAC 217, these brushes will do that, only better. This is a Hodo J5523 brush. The equivalent of that is going to be the Wayne Goss number 18 brush. So these you have to buy individually off the site or at a makeup show. These you can buy from Beautylish and probably get free shipping if you buy a few of them. I like this the same thing for after I put down a more intense crease color, that I can blend this up when I'm doing smoky eyes, because I don't have a ton of space. So if I bring the dark color or whatever I'm trying to do a cut crease with, or a darker color in my crease, I can bring it down on my lid too far, and now I've closed off my eye. And if I bring it up too high, it now looks heavy. Doesn't look right. And if you wanted a synthetic version of that, this Delian Tools 776 blending brush, same thing. It's not as fluffy, but it does an amazing job. It's nice and soft. Now this brush is the Sonia G. This is the Builder 2. I think she means builder for like kind of building on your lid. That's what I would think, but I actually use this a ton in my crease, and I even flip this sideways like this. This brush is a lot thinner, but her brushes are just amazing. Now this is an interesting brush. This is the Hodo J5533. This is completely flat up top, which is not something you see very often. I find for small lid spaces too, it's really easy to go through and blend. Again, you guys have seen this in my favorites brushes videos before. A lot of them are going to be the same. I've recently just discovered the Sonia G brushes and the Isom brushes and some of the Delian tools, but in general, like my high-end brushes like my Wayne Goss and my Hodo, all of those you've seen before. These are my favorite pencil brushes. Pencil brushes are important because if you have a really scratchy one, you don't want to blend out underneath your eye. Now I actually use this. This is the Isom S33 brush. I use this today as well to go through and make sure that that line is blended and a little deeper if I want to just pick that up. This is also great for smoking out underneath your eye. Very soft brush. And this is a smaller version. This is the S31 brush. This is really just a pencil brush for getting in there and doing more detail, although I find this a little more difficult to blend. So these two are a match made in heaven. You want to go underneath here and then blend it out. This is the Sonia G. This is the Pencil 2 brush. I love this. You guys have seen this all in my videos. I use this today for smoking out underneath my eye and blending it in. Very soft, it won't scratch. And this is my Shiki Hodo. I think this is my Z10 brush. The number's not on there, but I use this for a lot of crease work. I use this today on the outer V of my eye. Very soft brush. This is my second one because my cat stole my first one and I still have no idea where it is. Now I used to use the MAC 242 to pack pigments and shimmers and things all over my lid, but I actually found some brushes that work better than that, and these are the Isom brushes, the W23, the W21. I have two 21s. It's what I use to pack all my shimmers on all the time, all my pigments. This picks up the most amount of product I've ever used. This is basically just a bigger version of this. So depending on what your needs are, I think for most people the 21 size will probably be good. Now for brushes, for like a quick blend for the under eye brow bone highlight, I love, this is the Shiki Hodo GSN 07. Again, their brushes are fairly expensive. I think this one brush is like $40, but I've had it for almost 4 years and I love it. I've never had any shedding from here. It's also nice to do like a really quick blend to make sure I don't have any choppy lines. If you want a more affordable version of that, the Isom G29 brush is not as giving because the bristles are a lot shorter. So I would pick one of these two. Now for inner corner highlight, my favorite brush has been this Real Techniques, the shading brush. I just pick up like that cream color. Since my eyes are small, I tend to be able to accidentally bring in too much darkness into this corner. So this brush, since it's nice and firm, I can kind of like use it as a little bit of an eraser. I believe this comes in a kit though. Or then this Zoeva 223 brush. I use this when I'm using like a pigment or a really shimmery shade on the inside corner. Nice. For more detailed work underneath the eye, if I had to pick one, I would get to this Sonia G, the Smudger 2. I use this almost every day underneath my eyes with a lighter color. It does not scratch me, and then I go in with her pencil brush and I really blend it out. If you like these kind of flat brushes, which are really good for packing pigment or like a darker color right against the lash line, I would get, actually the first one I would get would be the Isom T05, and if you wanted to buy them like in a set, to the Goss 08 that came in the anniversary set, was nice. And then this is the Shiki Hodo GSN 09. This is, I think, meant to pack color all over the lid, but since it's such a soft hair, you're gonna get more of a sheer wash of color than a ton of pigment. What I like this for is underneath my eyes. I cannot stand brushes that are really pokey underneath my eye. Weirds me out. So these are my favorite eyebrow brushes. Okay, so I really love the Wayne Goss set. His brush right here for pomades is good, but I find my favorite brush for pomades is this Lancome 27 brush. It's shaped like a triangle here, and I find that I get like really precision hair-like strokes with pomades. This does not work for powders, but it is excellent for everything else. If you want one for pomades, it's a little thicker, that you can also use to do winged eyeliner as well. The Shiki Hodo GSN 13 is really nice for that. I don't find myself reaching for that as often for my brows. For powder, this is my favorite. This is the number 12, this is the Heaven Luxe, this by It Cosmetics, which I think might be discontinued. So the other one that I love as well is the Kat Von D number 75. It looks like a comb. As you're putting the product on, it blends the rest of the product out so you don't get really harsh lines. This one doesn't have a spoolie, which I like better because I can stick it in my cup. This does, so I stick it in the cup, spoolie down. And then this is the Wayne Goss brow set, where you're gonna get a spoolie, you're gonna get a comb to go through, and then again, this is good for powder, but since it's a little thicker, you're not going to get as precise if you really need to carve out something. And then last but certainly not least, and then I'll touch on just a couple brush regrets, because some of you guys are asking me about that. These are more like just detailed random little brushes. So this one is a fan brush. This is the T11 from Isom. What I do is I pick up some mascara on this after I have my lashes on, and I go like this and I blend my natural lashes into my falsies, and I love that for that. That's really the only thing I can think that you'd ever use that for. This is a Golden Triangle Delian 937. It's called Bold Concealer. I use this to clean up my eyebrows. It has a perfect amount of give, and it does a really good job of that. This is the Zoeva 317 Winged Liner Brush. I use pen liners and vamp stamp. Like right now I have the medium vamp stamp on, and then I go through with the Kat Von D tattoo liner to connect everything. I like this to dip in my Bioderma if I accidentally mess up and clean that up. I think that everybody needs a good slanted brush for that. And I've already talked about the Isom T43 brush for concealer, but I actually like this to blend in my lid primer all over. I do think that everybody could use a palette in their life. I have my paw palette, something that you can squeeze foundation on so you're not getting makeup all over your hand. You can find really expensive ones on Amazon, or even just kind of a painter's palette, something to make sure that you're not getting makeup all over the place. I think that will go a long way for you guys as well. Now, brush regrets. So I've bought a ton, like I've showed you, I bought a ton of brushes over the years here, and again, a lot of it is just trial and error, and it wasn't like I bought them and I thought, oh, the brush completely sucks. It just, the shape didn't work with the way that I like to apply my makeup. So I bought these to test them, and I did test them for a while, and I had some people asking me on some older videos like, oh my god, why are you trying that? It's like, because you have to test it, and I'm testing them on camera just because I don't just do my makeup and sit around all day. So the only brush I ever liked from Morphe was the M439 brush. This was a decent brush to put on your foundation. I liked some of these shapes a lot, but these brushes, do you see this? This looks like my hair in the 90s when I was bleaching it myself, and it feels like alpaca butthole hair. It feels extremely scratchy and not good. And I'm gonna get some people telling me, oh, you're being a snob. No, false. You guys can go and get brushes from Real Techniques or any of them that are less than those. You don't have to deal with the crappy shipping, and it's not gonna scratch up your face. There are tons of brushes out there that you can go into the drugstore and find, like Wet n Wild and e.l.f. Don't fall into this. Don't fall into this hype. These brushes fall apart, and I didn't even use this long. Can you even see like the hairs coming off of it on the side? And I'm sure if I even do this, it's just extremely dry hair. What it is think about it like a restaurant. The expensive restaurants are gonna get the top tier cuts of meat or the best produce or whatever it is. And then the ones on the bottom rung are going to get the worst, the toughest, the ones that they have to marinate a lot longer or make different dishes with. That's what you get. I mean, and you're paying for that, okay? So that little hair that was bothering me just peeled out. You can see the rust from the ferrule coming up on the brush there. And I don't ever dry my brushes up like this. They had a Pro line, which was nice, which is the same exact thing as the Crown Pro line. Again, synthetic brushes are kind of hard to mess up because they're gonna be soft for everybody. I regret giving my money to a company like this, and I also regret because the brushes suck. I bought a bunch of these artist brushes too, and I was using them, and I mean, they're okay, but are they worth the cost? I don't think so. And I know so many people that love them, but they're just not, like, the whole idea is to, makeup brushes were meant for people to apply to other people. So when you're holding the handle and you're doing someone's makeup, these brushes were meant to apply to yourself. So like, you're supposed to hold this with your finger. And if you're maybe just getting into makeup, it might be an easy transition for you, or maybe if you're a quick learner, but it never felt quite right to me. And I just didn't care for these, and they were really expensive. And then I bought this Becca brush. I think they're like all-in-one perfector. First of all, this feels like alpaca butthole hair. It feels very scratchy. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? This is supposed to be like for their highlight. I don't know. It was not the business. It was not good. And otherwise, I mean, besides the Artiste brushes, and I have a lot of those. I have a whole kit of them that I bought, and again, they're okay, but based on the cost alone, I would just never repurchase. Otherwise, when I went through here, because I was trying to find brushes like that I hate, like I bought brushes from MAC, I bought brushes from Cosmedix, I have brushes from Sephora, Makeup Addiction, random no-name companies that I just bought. Sigma brushes, which I bought a ton of Sigma brushes. I don't care for Sigma brushes. They're okay. Are they the best brushes ever? No. And based on the cost, I can find other options that fit my needs that I prefer better. I know there are so many people that are diehard Sigma. What I would just urge you to do is pay attention to the trends of how brands are recommended on YouTube and use your own critical thinking. And if you see reviews saying my brush head fell off and all these things from consumers that don't have affiliate codes, I would tend to believe that. And don't get me wrong, I'm affiliated with a lot of these sites. The Sonia G brushes were sent to me by Sonia as a housewarming gift when I moved down here. Thank you so much for them. I love them. Otherwise, oh, and some of the Isom brushes. Some of them I bought, some of them were gifted to me by Alphonse. But all my Wayne Goss brushes I have bought myself. All of my Shiki Hodo, Hodo brushes, I've all bought myself. And again, it was over some time. I did not just buy all at once. Again, 99.9% of the brushes that you've seen here today, I've purchased myself. The ones that were gifted to me, I will note with an asterisk down below, just so there is no confusion about that. And in a pinned comment, I will have, if I could only take certain brushes, which ones it would be. And then maybe off camera, I'll show them to you lined up. I hope you guys found this video helpful, and I didn't give you 8,000 brushes, but again, I hope it is so that you can see how you like to apply your makeup, and maybe one of those will fit your needs. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you next time.